Hello and welcome back to RaceRoom, and it's another instalment of the BMW M235i Cup, today coming from the familiar surroundings of Zandvoort. It's quite a fitting combination to be racing this week because you may remember I took the very same car for a spin around Zandvoort a couple of weeks ago as part of my RaceRoom competition to give away 1,000 virtual race points. Now, I'm celebrating 1 year of ranked racing in RaceRoom, so to mark the occasion I went back to the very first combo that I competed in a year ago, and it just so happens to be the same race that we're about to do today. So I put 15 litres of fuel in the tank, which was enough for an 8-lap stint, and the rules of the competition were simple. I asked you to guess what my fastest lap would be. And I can now reveal that it was a 1:52.197, so a little bit slower than what a lot of you guessed, but there were a few of you that got really close. None more so than Danut, who guessed to within 0.02 of a second, so congratulations to you, and your VIP voucher will be winging its way to you. So with a little bit more time to practice ahead of this race, I was able to bring my lap times down quite considerably, and as you can see here in qualifying we posted a time of 1:51.4, and that's good enough for a place on the second row. And even more encouraging is the fact that we've posted the fastest Sector 1 time of the entire grid, so there's real cause for optimism here that we can compete for another podium. We've already had 2 in the last 2 weeks in rookie races, so can we make it a hat-trick at Zandvoort? Let's get down to the grid and find out how we get on. So we're starting third on the grid. We've got the pole position man, Rafael Quintero, right in front of us. We're waiting for the lights to go green and we're underway at Zandvoort. We get away really well. In fact, we might have even got off the line a little bit better than Mason Jones in second, and there's a chance that we could pull alongside him and claim that inside line, but I do decide to back out, perhaps a bit prematurely, and then we end up rubbing doors with the driver who started alongside me on the grid, Stef van Linden. We're still side by side, but then I just get squeezed out. I had 2 choices there, either back out or go onto the grass, so I decided to back out, and it was probably the wise decision because look at Van Linden here, runs it into this left-hander way too hot, drifts out too wide. That opens the door for us to get alongside and then claim that third position back. So we've got through those tight and twisty first few sections at Zandvoort, holding on to our third position, and more importantly we've survived without picking up any damage or any instant points. And half a lap in, it's pretty much as you were. The pole position man and clear favourite Rafael Quintero is out in front. He's being pushed hard by Mason Jones in second. Then it's me in third, Van Linden fourth, and Ishmael Lamella has moved up to 5th from 7th on the grid. And it looks like we're going to have to defend again from Van Linden, who tries to have a look up the inside into that slow right-hander. Thankfully we had about a car length's advantage, and that was just enough to be able to seal off the line and shut the door to thwart the move, but it's already obvious that we're not going to get this podium easy. We're going to have to work for it. It does appear though that attempted pass has cost Van Linden some momentum. The gap now is 0.6 of a second, so we've got a little bit of breathing room. Certainly not as comfortable as I'd like, but as we approach the end of lap 1, we're in hot pursuit of the leading 2 here. And if you look at the leaderboard in the top left of the screen, you'll see the driver ratings, and it's actually a really open grid, this one. The pole position man, Quintero, he's got the best rating at 1.93k, but he's certainly not been able to shake off Mason Jones in second yet as we begin the charge down to the start and finish line to end lap 1. We're 1.2 seconds behind Jones, and we're 0.7 up on Van Linden. So here's a replay of the start, and we got away really well, but I think we were just a bit too cautious on the approach to T1, maybe got on the brakes a little bit too early. I think that second place was there for the taking had we just been a bit braver, but instead I backed off, and that invited Van Linden to try and move around the outside. We're side by side here, and at the moment I was trying to hold my line to keep the inside, but you can just see I get squeezed out towards the grass. I had to back off again, and temporarily we're down to 4th position, but thankfully not for long because Van Linden runs in too hot. Look at that, right around the outside. There's a huge gap for me to move up the inside, get on the gas that little bit earlier, take that third position back. Let's take a look at T1 again from the chopper cam, and you can see how cautious I was. Right there I get on the brakes far earlier than anyone else. That invites Van Linden to go around the outside. There's nothing between us at this point. I'm going to try and hold the inside line for the next turn, but I just get squeezed out. There I ease off the gas just to give Van Linden a bit of space. But keep your eye on the upcoming left-hander. Van Linden completely misses the apex right out to the barrier. That opens up a huge gap for me to get alongside and then get on the gas that little bit earlier to reclaim the third position. And then a few corners later, Van Linden had a sniff up the inside to try and take that third back, but we were able to shut the door and hold on. We rejoined the live action at the end of lap 2 and things are looking really encouraging. We've closed right in on Mason Jones in second. The gap now is just half a second. And we're also showing a purple sector 1 as well, so we're the fastest on the track in the first sector at Zandvoort, just like we were in qualifying. So we're showing some really competitive pace here, and we just need to put all kinds of pressure now on Mason Jones in second. We've got a little bit of breathing room behind us now. That gap back to Van Linden is almost 1.5 seconds, so we can concentrate on Jones ahead, who misses the apex into this left-hander, but we make a complete mess of the exit too, drifting over onto the curb. We can't get on the gas as quickly as we like, and that mistake has given Jones his 1 second advantage back. While I was trying my very best to bridge that gap back to Jones in second, thankfully Ishmael Lamella in fifth was doing me a favour by keeping Van Linden occupied. We're watching the battle for fourth. Van Linden's ahead at the moment, but Lamella is all over the rear of that green BMW. He switches to the outside to have a look. Then there's a bit of contact, and all the while these two are beating each other up. It's working out perfectly for me because they're slowing each other down, and that gap is opening up. Let's go back to the live action from my cockpit. You can see now that Van Linden is 2.5 seconds back while trying to deal with Lamella. So we've got to concentrate on what's going on ahead, namely Jones, and catching him. Well, we've definitely gained a couple of tenths coming through this section, and Jones is going to run it a little bit wide here too, so that's going to give us the chance to get even closer. It's 0.5 of a second now, and we can close right in onto the rear spoiler of Jones as we come through this left-hander. We're right on his tail now. Can we get in the draft and try and set up some sort of overtake attempt going into the chicane? I don't think we're close enough on this lap, so we're just going to have to sit back, try and keep as smooth a line as possible. Jones runs in a little bit deep into the chicane. We follow him, and that's going to compromise both of our exits. It's messy all round, but we haven't lost any time. It's 0.4 of a second. We're right on his tail now as we approach the penultimate turn, and I think we've rattled him because he's running in a bit wide again, and that's opened the gap. Have we got enough pace to tuck it up the inside? I just think better of it. We weren't quite far enough alongside him to try and make that pass stick, so we backed out of that one. And it's probably cost us a bit of exit speed too, which means we won't be able to make a move into T1. But we've already suspected that Jones might be feeling the pressure a bit, so I did wonder if he might run it in a bit too hot into T1, but fair play to him, he's held his line perfectly, and in fact, we're the ones who are a bit ragged on exit, just taking it a bit wider than I would have liked. That's given Jones a bit of breathing room. But is he going to make the apex of this left-hander? Yes, he is. He holds a firm and tight line, so it looks like those nerves are easing and Jones is finding some sort of rhythm again. 0.6 is the gap. Meanwhile, behind us, the battle for fourth rages on, and this is Van Linden coming from way back into T1 to try and make a pass. Lamella cleverly anticipates it and switches back up the inside, and then a few corners later, Van Linden just pushes that little bit too hard, gets two wheels on the grass. That's the braking point compromised, and ends up bogged down in the sand. 5 minutes to go then, so we're 2/3 of the way through this race, and still we can't find a way past Mason Jones to take that second position. Zandvoort is notoriously difficult for finding a way through. However, Jones runs in a bit wide into T1. Unfortunately, I'm not quite close enough to take advantage. But it's a sign that Jones is beginning to feel the pressure again, with me just half a second behind. And look, there's another sign. Again, he drifts wide. Two wheels out onto the grass. That's going to cost him some speed. He manages to hold his line into that left-hander, but we're right on his tail now. 0.3 of a second. In fact, it's the closest I've been to him in several laps, and now I'm starting to try and think a few corners ahead. Is there an opportunity to get past him? We're coming up to 3 right-handers here, and if I can just hug a tight inside line, I might be able to squeeze it up the inside. We're not quite close enough there, but we've got 2 more opportunities. Again, can we tuck it up the inside? No, we can't. So we've got 1 more opportunity. I'll move to the inside to try and take the inside line. We're not quite close enough, but look, it looks like we've spooked him because he's actually run out onto the grass. Has he rejoined alongside me, or will we see him in the the rearview mirror. Yes, there he is in the mirror. So we've got that second position, but it's not the way I wanted that pass to go down. We'll need to look at the replay just to make sure that it wasn't me that forced him onto the gravel. Yeah, I did really worry afterwards that I'd been too aggressive with this move because I am coming from a long way back there, but I did hold the inside line. As you can see there, I left loads of space on the outside, so I'm hoping that it wasn't me that pushed him off. We can get a better view from the chopper cam. And at this point, I've already got my mind made up that I'm going to make the move. But yeah, I'm just not quite close enough. Although it's not really a dive bomb because I do get it stopped and make the apex. Jones must know I'm there because he tries to give me space. And there was certainly enough room for both of us to get around the corner. But I suspect Jones saw me coming in his mirror, which spooked him into making a mistake. So yeah, definitely not the way I wanted the pass to play out, and not a move that I'm particularly proud of. So yeah, after that controversial pass, we managed to maintain about a second advantage to Jones until the last lap. That's when I started to really struggle with those front tyres, particularly the front left. It was on fire for the second half of the race, but I'm really starting to struggle with grip now. Even trying to get the car turned around that left-hander was a challenge. But we've only got a few more corners to hold on, and Jones in third has also got to deal with a driver only 0.2 of a second behind him, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to get around here and hold on to this second position. We slide through the chicane again, hardly any grip. I've got no confidence coming through there, but we've managed to get through unscathed. And we know how hard it is to pass around Zandvoort, so all we need to do is to hold the racing line here, keep it smooth, and we should be okay. But there's still one more fright to come as I get it all out of shape coming out of the final turn for the last time. We just get on the gas a bit too early, the grip's not there, we run onto the grass, but thankfully it doesn't cost us enough time for Jones or Sands to get by us before we cross the finish line. So yeah, third successive podium in the RaceRoom rookie servers after third positions in the F4 at Brands Hatch Indy and then the BMW M235i Cup at Zolder. We've gone one better with a second place at Zandvoort. But in all honesty, I'm still feeling a little bit disappointed in myself with the way I took that second position. Yes, I wanted to apply pressure on Jones and force him into a mistake, but I do think that I was a little bit too ambitious to come from that far back. I know that we didn't run into his line, we didn't barge him off, but it did spook him. He probably saw what he thought was a dive bomb manoeuvre in his mirror, and that was enough to distract him and make him run onto the gravel. So yeah, I'm not particularly happy with the way I pulled that move off, but let me know what you think. Should I have held off until I was a little bit closer, or was it a controlled enough manoeuvre to be acceptable? Let me know your views in the comments, and if you've enjoyed watching the video, please do leave it a like and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done already. Thanks again for watching, and thank you as well to everyone who entered my competition. I really do appreciate all the support.